Hello, this is Claude White, and it's time for NFL picks. I know I've been away for a while, but now I'm back, and here we are ready to go. Let me start with the first game. That will be the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who will be without Carson Wentz. Now, obviously, Nick Foles had to be thrusted in at quarterback. We know that Nick Foles isn't any damn good. I'm not a fan of Matt Ryan. Anybody who knows and have followed me knows that I think Matt Ryan is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in all of professional football. But I think that he has the best 1-2 punch as far as running backs in the league with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. And of course, Julio Jones is the second best wide receiver in pro football. And if you want to say I'm biased because I'm a Steeler fan, well, listen, the numbers speak for themselves, but that's yet another story. Now, the reason also that I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, I'm going to pick the Atlanta Falcons to win this football game, obviously, because of the lack of Carson Wentz, but it's also sort of a personal thing. Now, I've been boycotting the NFL this year. And that damn Malcolm Jenkins, he and Anquan Bolden have single-handedly sabotaged the movement that was started by Colin Kaepernick. And I tell you what, I hope Malcolm Jenkins gets burned every time. I hope they throw in his direction. I hope he gives up 3 touchdowns tomorrow. I can't stand him. He's an absolute disgrace. But that being said, I'm going for the Atlanta Falcons to win this game by a score of 27-10 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the next game will be the Tennessee Titans going up against the New England Patriots. And now, I obviously feel that New England will win this game, but I think it's going to be a much closer game than people realize. Because Travis Henry has been running the football very well for the Tennessee Titans, and they are a very physical football team. Now, I am not as high on Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator, who was the longtime defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are. And I respect him, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got 2 Super Bowl rings with the Steelers. But as far as I'm concerned, that Tim Tebow game just left such a stench with me as to where I should have been his last game as a Pittsburgh Steelers defensive coordinator, let alone a defensive coordinator in any fucking team. But that's another story. I digress. Tom Brady has most of his receivers at his disposal. You know they can't really run the football. And also New England gives up a lot of running plays. They are not very stout up front. But Marcus Mariota just can't be trusted. And his receiving corps stinks. Did you see how many drops Eric Decker had? He was awful. Their best receiver is Delaney Walker, who's their tight end. He has no speed. I mean, he has decent speed, but remember, he's 33 years old. He's a little beat up, a little long in the tooth there. And I just don't see Bill Belichick letting him beat them. He's going to make sure that there's going to be 8 in the box. Marcus Mariota, he's going to be forced to win the game. I don't see it happening, but I do think it's going to be a closer game than people realize because of the physical nature of the Tennessee Titans. I am going to say New England's going to win it, but only by a score of 24-17. Now, the next game, the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Jacksonville Jaguars Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Now, there's been a lot made about Mike Mitchell saying that, you know, in essence, that they're looking past Jacksonville. They're going to beat Jacksonville. They're going to beat New England. Listen, first of all, when he was interviewed, that was right after the Steelers lost a controversial game to the Patriots where Jesse James had the catch that was not a catch. And listen, letter of the law, it wasn't a catch, so I digress. What was he supposed to say? They're going to lose the game? I mean, give me a break. I have no problem with what Mike Mitchell said. And I tell you what, the way Jacksonville embarrassed the Steelers If you remember last year, Miami did that to Pittsburgh as well. Now, Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 picks. You think he's going to throw 5 picks this Sunday? Yeah, right. Antonio Brown looks like he's ready to go. But the most important player for the Steelers on offense, of course, is the real MVP, Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, I guarantee you, will have a $150 combined yards rushing and receiving. He might get that running. I like Juju Smith-Schuster. And listen, the Steelers have a lot of pride. And I'm not just saying this because I am a Steeler fan, but they are a prideful team. They know they got embarrassed early this season against the Jaguars. You think they're going to get embarrassed yet again? Yeah, right. You think they're going to let Blake Bortles beat them twice in a row? Yeah, right. Listen, Donald Trump has a better shot of being a civil rights activist than the Steelers losing against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Pittsburgh in January playoffs. Yeah, right. I like the Steelers big, 31-13 over the Jaguars. Now, the final game is the New Orleans Saints going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Minnesota has arguably the best defense in pro football. And the Saints have come off a very tough win against the Carolina Panthers. Now, Drew Brees, to me, is the best quarterback outside of Tom Brady in the NFL that's left in the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl, he's carried that team, and he's carried that franchise ever since he's been there. Now, on the other side, Minnesota has probably the most stifling defense in the NFL. And I tell you what, if they had a real quarterback, being that they're at home, the Super Bowl is actually going to be held in Minnesota, all signs would point to the Minnesota Vikings winning this game. But you know what? I can't go for it. I just can't do it. Case Keenum, I know he's done his job. He's done very well as quarterback. He's done his thing. I just don't see Case Keenum beating Drew Brees in a playoff game. If they were outside in the elements at Minnesota, yeah, I probably would choose the Vikings. But the fact that they're in a dome, and I don't think they have an answer for Kamara. That rookie is sensational. He's quick. He's just a difference maker. And I think that on both sides, the way that the New Orleans Saints rush the passer right now, Cameron Jordan, and let's face it, the Vikings' offensive line is decent. They're not great. And you can get to Keenum. I just don't see Case Keenum beating them. And I know the Saints aren't exactly the greatest defensive team in the world, but they're not as bad as they used to be. And they can rush the passer. And outside of the wide receiver, what dynamic player do the Minnesota Vikings have on offense? Oh yeah, they don't. And for that reason, I'm going the upset special, the New Orleans Saints 20, Minnesota 17. Okay, this is Claude Sports Corner. Take care and God bless.